substantially bigger possibilities to develop services on top of it. So the capacity when it comes to how much data, the capacity in terms of time-sensitive signals for traffic safety measurements, for instance, and use this mobile network infrastructure and the penetration of phone for society benefits is what we're trying to do. So when we discuss, or when you continue to discuss back home to see what sort of services can be deployed, it is, I think, of great importance to bring in the mobile network operators into that discussion, and to, of course, understand how and when and if will the development from the rest of the world actually be deployable in Kenya as well. So the Ericsson as a company, we have been then, as I said, since the end of the 1870 roughly. And we are right now #1 technology leader in mobile network infrastructure. So if you take it, roughly 50% of any smartphone traffic in the whole world goes somewhere through an Ericsson system. We are doing businesses in very much based on our technology leadership. We are having today 35,000 patents. That is very important to actually protect the technology and be able to deploy that in a quick way. We are a company that has moved from a product-centric business to a service-centric business. Out of the 114,000 people we are today, almost half are working in consulting, system integration, managed operation. And the managed operation have been very successful in our business with telecom operators, because today many telecom operators with roughly 1 billion subscribers in total, those networks are managed by Ericsson on behalf of the mobile operator. So and there are a lot of benefits for that when it comes to adding new technology life cycles in a quick way, and to keep competence on how to actually operate this in the most efficient way, and how to learn from the other parts of the world when it comes to deploying in new services and so forth. So it's just a few highlights on where Ericsson are today. And the net sales last year of roughly 22 billion euros, or what is that in US dollars now? That is some...
31 billion US dollars.
Sorry?
31 billion.
31 billion US dollars. So, but we're not here to talk about Ericsson primarily. We're here to talk about the learnings we have from our customers. And this is a way to illustrate the companies we do business with today. The biggest part, as I said, is with telecom operators. We are doing businesses in 180 countries, primarily with the telecom operators. We are also doing big business in TV and media broadcasting. For instance, we are broadcasting BBC's complete channel program on behalf of BBC, but it's again managing and operating a complex technology. And we are now also starting up and doing business in transportation, in utilities, and in public safety. We do also have a lot of IPR business with the handset manufacturers and the device manufacturers. We are also present in Kenya, as I said. Not as long as the end of the century, but since 2006. We do have almost 300 people employed, and doing business with the 3 operators that you have, with Airtel and Orange and Safaricom. And I think this is a basic principle in all our global business, that it has to be local presence. We have to have people understanding the local conditions and building the local business relations. And also we have introduced, I'm happy to introduce you, of course, to our local management, so that if there are any topics or any questions that you would like to continue, that we can continue that with the Ericsson colleague locally. We have done a number of engagements in Africa, and we have a concept or an corporate society responsibility program that we call Technology for Good. And Technology for Good have engaged in a couple of projects that's related to Kenya. One is the Millennium Villages. Again, my big excuse for not knowing the geography, but the names of the villages that we have been engaged in.
There is Dertu in the north, and also Barsauri in Nyanza. Dertu is mainly livestock, Barsauri is mainly agriculture. And Barsauri is supporting, I think, about 30,000 people, and Dertu is a few
And we have also been involved in the Connect to Learn, which has been a program primarily to help girls to get education in a qualitative way, and also another dimension is to secure that refugees over the continent can find each other and can communicate and get in contact. I think the latest engagement is also as a sponsor of the iLab Africa, which is also engaging with a university called Southmore, if that's
Strathmore.
Strathmore. Again, I'm so sorry, not pronouncing it. But I just wanted to mention this to you, that there are local engagements, and we think it's extremely important to also to bring the knowledge that we have from the rest of the world into Kenya and to Africa in general. If we come back to some of those challenges now, how do we now apply this knowledge and those capabilities that we believe we have, and how to cope with this? There is a key thing here that you will find in the Network Society City Indexes, and that is that the role of the citizens, the role of the inhabitants will have a fundamental development impact as we go forward, much more than has been in the history. And then we believe it's important to understand the citizen behavior. As Ericsson, we are running what we call a consumer lab, and this is a survey that we do yearly that statistically is equal to 1.1 billion people. And here it is collecting insights about human behavior, how to segment different type of users, and human behavior in relation to digital information and in relation to mobile phones and smartphones. So all the things that comes into natural every people's life, and how that can be supported or simplified or challenged with the digital development, we're trying to follow here. And we do that also yearly in more than 40 countries and have 15 mega cities involved here. This is also something we do on our own initiative, but if there are any specific or issues or topics that would be relevant from your perspective, we have the methodology to also assist you in helping and see if there are particular questions when it comes to the urban life and the challenges. We have done that in a number of cities when it comes to commuting, for instance, getting statistics on what does people do when they commute, how can that commute be either more efficient or more pleasant by using services on the mobile phone, or how can that support people working in the transport chain, giving services to the travelers. So I think that's one cornerstone. And what we've learned as well when it comes to transforming a society or a city environment from a more operational catch-up mode to a more innovative development, there are a few steps that are quite important to take. And especially given the urbanization, we see the total impossible challenge of coordinating every single project or program, but rather define an architecture. When it comes to the information and communication technology, what are the frameworks? What is the architecture for securing that if we build an infrastructure in a city, that it can be used by energy services, transport services, healthcare services, education services, and so forth. So defining and building that architecture as a guidance for the different public services that are going to build systems on top of it. If you want to benefit on the connected things and all the data that can be collected from it, we also see the big need of actually digitizing the resources. And this may sound theoretical or may sound strange, but if you think of the music industry, how that has totally changed the way of consuming and distributing music, merely because the content was digitalized. When it was digitalized, you could transfer it over other media than the CD or the record initially. And now the whole media industry is growing from a revenue point of view, but not on the part of the value chain that produced the media. So it has increased the need for totally different parts in that value chain, but it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't digitized. The same thing if you take a road database. Sweden have a national road database where every single part of the road network is actually documented in terms of the load of trucks or cars that the bridges can carry, for instance, where you have bus stops, where you have speed limits, and so forth. And all that data is digitalized and available for different innovative services that can be put on top of that. Everything from navigation to information services or traveler services and so forth. And I think it's probably something that wouldn't come in the first step, but I think it's important to keep in mind that much of the benefits that you could do has to come from the knowledge or the digital description of the object. And then, of course, to understand what sort of data does this now digitized object provide. And that data is probably not complete from the beginning. You have no clue what you want to use all that data for. When we started to work with the automotive industry and to find solutions for connecting cars, there are 300-400 sensors in the car that the car industry have used for parts of it when you use the car or when you manage the car. But now all of a sudden when the car is connected, you can see that the sensor that gave, now I know this is a bad example for Kenya, but the slippery road information. So when the wheel is spinning, you get the signal that there's probably an ice or snow on the road that the authority should come and make something about. You can have indications about the sensors of temperature or of climate, and that can give inputs to meteorological services. So the use of data should probably have a use case that drives the connection of that asset. But then there is a lot of innovation and innovative stuff that could be implemented to come to the top, which is really our belief in if you want to go to a complete innovative city with new services, to open up the data for...
So look,
Sorry?